Take a look at this headline from CNN. 7 arrested after vigil for black man shot and killed by sheriffs in Washington state turns tense. Just look at that picture. Kumbaya, Lord. Kumbaya. Why, these people weren't even protesting. It was a vigil. And they didn't riot later on. Things just turned a little tense. And all this over just another poor innocent black man who didn't do nothing. Well, let's find out about what this didn't do did. Peterson was fatally shot Thursday evening after he was approached by law enforcement while sitting in his vehicle in a motel parking lot. Well, that's innocent enough. The deputies and officers with a local drug task force suspected him of selling drugs. Well, that's why they approached his car, I guess. Per a statement with the Southwest Washington Independent Investigative Response Team, SWIRT. The statement from SWIRT says Peterson fled on foot. I guess his car was surrounded by the police and was pursued by law enforcement. SWIRT says Peterson produced a handgun and the pursuing officers backed off. Peterson then encountered 3 Clark County deputies, all of whom fired their weapons, the statement said. So this man was in a car. He was suspected of being a drug dealer. And when police wanted to talk to him, he fled on foot. Police pursued. He produced a gun. Initial police pursuit backed off, but the following on pursuit engaged him and shot him dead. Well, this is CNN's take on this story and why these people conducted this vigil that, just turned a little tense for him. Let's take a look at a different news source. This is the Columbian, Washington State newspaper. Arrests follow unrest. Unrest. That's their term for rioting, I guess. In Vancouver after police shooting of black man. Again, they want to identify the man by the color of his skin, not his choices in life, not his criminal conduct. And here we can see a little bit of what this unrest was doing. Here we see people that are tagging a wall, defacing public property. Let's read a little bit about this. A group of Black Lives Matter supporters were marching through downtown Vancouver, followed by counter-protesters. That's the first I've heard of that. Unrest roiled Hazeldale in downtown Vancouver on Friday night as hundreds of demonstrators and counter-demonstrators. Are people starting to get pissed off by BLM and Antifa in Washington State finally? Let's hear their version of this shooting now. An investigation is still underway into the fatal shooting of Kevin E. Patterson Jr., a 21-year-old commerce man, on Thursday in Hazeldale Bank parking lot at a local press conference Friday. Clark County Sheriff Chuck Atkins said a narcotics investigation led to deputies chasing a man on foot. The man reportedly fired at the deputies, who returned fire and killed him. The man was later identified as Peterson. In this paragraph, they explain some of this unrest, what I would call rioting. Downtown windows were smashed and walls were tagged with graffiti along the way. And above it, I missed this one. Several dumpster fires were reported to police. You can see why these people were arrested. And here's their names. Okay, let's go on to a final news source. The Oregonian. Take a look at their headline. Deputies kill armed black man during drug investigation near Vancouver, investigators say. Finally, an honest headline. Well, let's go on. Deputies shot and killed a 21-year-old black man during a drug investigation in suburban Vancouver after he took off on foot and was seen with a handgun, investigators said Friday. Kevin E. Peterson Jr. of Camas died at the scene Thursday, his family said. Police recovered a .40 caliber Glock pistol near Peterson's body, investigators said. It's not clear if Peterson fired the gun. Clark County Sheriff Atkins said Peterson had reportedly fired his weapon at the deputies. The deputies returned fire, but investigators later didn't expressly confirm that Peterson had fired. So Peterson was armed, but it's unknown at this particular point in time whether he actually fired his weapon or not. I would consider this piece of information not essential, whether he fired his pistol or not. He pulled a weapon on the police. Whether he fired it or not, he showed intention to use it. The police had every right to fire on this man and kill him, which they did. So we go from CNN's peaceful vigil with a little bit of unrest over this poor black man to this violent criminal pulled a pistol, police shot and killed him, and part of the local populace went nuts, rioting, breaking windows, setting dumpsters on fire, defacing buildings, and 7 people were arrested for doing so. You can see why I like going with local news sources. If I had gone with CNN's story, I wouldn't have known that this violent criminal had pulled his weapon on police. And CNN really doesn't go into this unrest, this rioting that happened afterwards. They would have you believe it was just a peaceful vigil.